Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Andy, on the run, hiding from the world.
I've always kind of suspected that about you. Every
Yeah,
time we're hanging out, I feel like there's people watching around the corners, kind of keeping tabs on you, Andy.
yeah. I knew you'd catch on eventually.
Yeah, but you're elusive, man. People,
I am.
they're not going to catch you quickly.
No, I'm not going down without
You,
a fight.
you are the alpha. So
I've often been called that,
yeah,
and I'm frequently compared to Glen Powell, so it really works out well.
yeah, all that checks out. Uh,
Yeah,
so this week we are talking about The Running Man, new movie from Edgar Wright starring Glen Powell, our guy, Glenn.
yeah.
And of course, it's not exactly a straight remake of an classic 80s Arnold movie, The Running Man, but
Yeah.
it shares the same source material, so it's close enough. Character's name is the same, and it is
Yeah.
a show about people having to survive and stay alive. So um,
Indeed.
yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of want to start there. Like, we've talked about a lot of Arnold movies throughout, the history of our pod because he's got so many great ones. We haven't talked a lot about The Running Man.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I need quickly to hear just some thoughts on Arnold's Running Man from you.
So I actually watched it a little bit ahead of time, like 2 weeks ago, maybe. Very dated,
Mm,
very cheesy, but the same things we've talked about with Arnold before still apply. Like he somehow just has this charisma and this charm to make this kind of terrible movie work. And it's I don't even know if I would say it's a good movie. It's an entertaining movie, and still is to this day. It's really weird. There's some really weird stuff, like the one dude like who's like a villain on the show is like in his underwear for a long time, and there's some choices in the movie, that's for sure.
yeah, it's an eccentric movie for sure. I really wish I would have rewatched it. I really thought about rewatching it,
Yeah,
but I didn't find the time or the opportunity.
sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's super interesting costuming for the movie too. The leotards that they wear, the
It's
shiny
something,
like
man.
gold leotard. Yeah, it is something. And the guy who's like an opera singer but shoots lightning is. I mean, just
it's
there's a lot.
it's the most, and I'm positive it only works because of Arnold. I think if anyone else is in that exact movie, it's a just an all-time bad movie.
Yeah, I think the movie is an all-time like TNT movie or TBS movie.
Yeah,
Like when I was growing
yeah,
up, like you just kind of come across it in cable and you're like, yeah, why not? The Running Man. Nothing else is better on. Let's watch that again. And
yeah.
I've probably seen it way more times than it deserves, but uh
Definitely, but I'm glad it exists because it's a good representation of kind of that mid to late '80s. It's like '87, I think, and as we talked about, Arnold was kind of the king of the world, and it's a it's a Arnold doing his thing.
absolutely. Well, I think highly enough about it that when I heard they're remaking The Running Man, I thought, "Oh, that's a cool one to remake." Yeah, like I
Hmm.
kind of had a good association. But I think it's in that perfect sweet spot. We talk a lot about how there's no reason to remake a lot of the movies they remake because the original holds up. But this is one where it's like, well, yeah, the original is dated. They could probably
Hmm.
give it a good update. And then you hear they cast Glen Powell and you go, all right, yeah, I'm intrigued now. An updated Running
Yeah,
Man with a guy that I like. This could be something.
yeah. That's the first thing that caught my attention. Just those exact things. The Running Man remake with Glenn Powell, and I was like, that I'll go see this. And I read about this probably at least a year ago, so I've known this was coming for a long time.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to read my summary and then we'll
Can't
jump
wait.
into our thoughts on the movie. So, Ben Richards is a good guy, but the system has left him blackballed from gainful employment and unable to buy basic medicine for his sick kid. Desperate for a way out, he signs up for the most dangerous game show in the world, The Running Man. Now he will attempt to survive 30 days while being hunted, and the longer he survives, the more money he can leave for his wife and kids. But soon he learns the game within the game, and that the more the audience likes him, the longer the network will want to keep him alive.
Mhm.
Andy,
Yeah.
was The Running Man good?
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie, but I'm really excited to talk to you about it because I don't know if it's just me, but it didn't achieve what I wanted it to. It kind of just stayed in that first gear for me. And that was a real letdown for me because as we've talked about, if anyone listens to this, they know we're super high on our guy, GP, and I was hoping this would just be like that confirmation that this guy is going to the stratosphere, and this movie did not do that for me. Not because of him. It just it was just okay. Like it was good, okay to good.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately the sort of the the thing about this movie is you can't be like, great, that was awesome, really excited for it. But it's also like not bad, and there's not really anything to complain about. Like there's nothing I point to and go like, well, it didn't work because of this. It
Yeah,
just kind of, yeah, it was just kind of a lukewarm movie.
it really was, and it just kind of hit all the beats that I thought it would hit, and
Yeah.
which ultimately is always going to come back to when you do a remake. You do have to sit back and you go, okay, why did you remake this movie? And it certainly doesn't follow the beats of the original of the Arnold Running Man necessarily. Where you're not like they just substituted Glen Powell for Arnold, but just from having seen the original and being so familiar with that movie, you could kind of see different things that were coming. And I don't know, it's just you're just like, oh, okay, like they did it well. Look, GP is still, what did I call him that one time, like a tornado of charisma or whatever? Like
Yes.
that hasn't
Yes.
changed. That hasn't changed at all. But this was not me going like, man, this was the perfect role for him to take that next step into being an A plus listener.
Yeah, I everything about this movie felt too familiar,
Mm-hmm.
and I really feel like they didn't quite. Maybe my complaint is maybe they just needed to pick a little more of a lane to steer into more. It
Yeah.
kind of went right down the middle on everything. Like
Yep.
there was, it was a little violent but not very violent. It was a little funny but not very funny. It was, Glenn Powell's character was had this mean streak, but we got to keep him really likable and fun too. Like it just didn't do enough tough decisions and say we're gonna make our movie this about this and we're gonna pursue that.
Right as always, Jeremy. And one of my biggest things was like this movie was just way too concerned with playing it safe. And I agree,
Mm.
like, and maybe I'll be interested to see if this is the problem with Glenn Powell going forward, where nobody wants to make him because that's kind of what he's riding off of right now, is just his charm and his charisma and his likability. So I just wonder if movies going forward are going to work really hard to just keep him in that very likable zone.
Yeah, either that's gonna happen. Like movies might do that for a while. I'm waiting for already. I'm calling it. He's gonna have his McConaughey moment where he goes, "That's enough. Like I'm not gonna keep playing the nice guy, the leading man. Give me some weirder roles, some meteor roles. I want to show I can actually do this acting thing." And
Hmm.
McConaughey had the whole McConaissance where he just started taking different parts and working with talented directors and doing the more artistic thing
Hmm.
and really showed like, oh yeah, McConaughey actually is one of those guys. Did I just lose you, Andy?
I had a little hiccup.
Okay,
No, I'm
all
here.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's so funny because I was thinking like after this movie, I was like, I bet you Glenn Powell could do the McConaughey thing like he does in Wolf of Wall Street, where he's just willing to pop in for a few minutes and like, he can find roles where he does still get to have that charm and that likability, but it is in just a little bit of a less safe lane like Running Man is.
Yeah, and I really didn't mean to keep comparing the movie to the original as much as we are, but I think the thing about
I
Arnold
know,
that
right?
really worked is that Arnold, I think, was less inherently likable as far as like Glenn Powell. He didn't have like the charm quite of Glenn Powell. He was inherently BA, and then he could like tack a
Yeah.
little charm on top of that. So you weren't like surprised to
Hmm.
see Arnold, you know, off a guy. You weren't surprised to see him throw a guy, off a building or something, like that. With Glenn, it's like
Right.
he's really charming, and then they gotta work to be like, can we make him tough and a killer too? And of course, I guess
Yep.
that's one thing about this movie that they really didn't make him to be A, and I guess I kind of respect that choice. It's a weird choice for a movie like this because like he's really nice throughout the whole thing. Like he barely fights
Yeah.
back throughout most of the thing, and yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and so like if you're not gonna have him go the Arnold route, and it is like literally like running, just him trying to evade everyone, then that just probably needs to be a little bit more interesting than it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird choices in this movie. I say here and said I'm not gonna
There
have a lot of
are.
complaints about this movie, and then lo and behold, I'm gonna find all these little complaints about the movie. But I'm never a big fan of the the guy who's the conspiracy guy in the movie that's gonna have his own like YouTube channel where he breaks down all the things. Like that's every time I see that, I just kind of roll my eyes and go, well, that's cheesy, and I don't like this character, and I feel bad saying that because the actor who played that
Yeah.
character in this movie, I think, is a good actor, but it was just a I didn't enjoy any part of him on screen doing that stuff.
I would agree completely. And that just feels like something we've seen a lot of.
Yeah. And then I really thought the timing of like when they introduced the girl character really late in the movie that kind of gets wrapped up in it. I was like,
Yeah.
what are we supposed to do with this? Like she's,
Hmm.
we're at near the end and they're introducing a character that's they're trying to make feel really like significant to the ending here. And I've got no time to
Yeah. And
invest in
it's
her
not,
or care that she's here in this peril or, I don't know. It was bizarre.
yeah, that's weird. Like, I know a lot of times we complain when movies kind of like just follow the cliches and stuff, but really, sometimes that stuff is the correct choice because it's like, yeah, for anything to work with her, you need some time with her. I mean, that's just kind of it's like a no-brainer. And then, like you said, it's really, really weird timing, just a weird choice to tack her on so late into the movie.
Yeah. Uh, I've
You know,
got to ask what you thought about Michael Cera in this movie.
hated him. I just, I don't know. Like, maybe it's just my mood, and I don't know. I just was like, all right, like, I don't know. It just felt like it brought nothing, and it just felt like he was like maybe not him specifically, but just like the way the character was written or like the direction he got, it was like just trying way too hard. And I kind of felt that coming because I was just even annoyed in the preview, like when he's like get that super soaker ready. I was like I was just like, okay, like I'm not gonna like this at all.
Yeah, Edgar Wright's one of those directors that I think too much about what he's doing because cleverness is kind of like his thing. Like quirky and clever is kind of
Mm-hmm.
his thing. So I was already kind of like interesting choice for the
Yeah.
guy making the Running Man. What's his like sort of take or slant going to be? So I'm kind of watching for it. And honestly, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
leave thinking very much about a slant or a take. But that was one of those scenes where I'm like, here I feel like this is Edgar Wright trying to flex like his quirky humor or something, and it's like it was very
Mm-hmm.
Home Alone-ish when he was like, "As people in the house," and you're right.
Yeah.
So again, that was another scene that I just didn't like. So here I am going like, I like Glen Powell, but it's like everything they're putting around him just just isn't working
Didn't
very
work very
well.
well, did it? Yeah, I agree completely. And that's the thing. Rewatching the original Running Man, they kept Arnold like Arnold. He was the guy. He's the man, and everything else is just kind of working around Arnold. And so, and I guess too, like Arnold just had, and not that Glenn Powell doesn't have a big presence, but Arnold's was different. Just probably physically, obviously physically, but like that probably just carried over. And so Arnold is so dominant in a good way that even if the stuff around him is silly and ridiculous, which it is in the original Running Man, you're still able to keep going forward. And the stuff that's revolving around Glenn or like kind of orbiting around Glenn Powell in this movie just kind of was almost a distraction, I think, and not a big fan, and not a fan at all of Michael Cera in this movie.
Yeah, I'm honestly like kind of racking my brain for the performance outside of Glenn Powell that I really enjoyed. Now, I mean, Brolin's always good, and he was
He's
sort of
always
playing
good.
again a very familiar villain character. Um,
Yeah,
so there was nothing wrong with his, but also nothing. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you got to see Brolin in Running Man, where he's doing something new. And
yeah.
then Coleman, what's his name? The guy who played the host.
Cool.
Uh,
Is it
I think
Coleman
so. I think it is.
Domingo?
Uh,
I think it is
yeah,
too. Yeah, and I
very
like him.
charismatic, good part for him. It's
Yeah.
a totally different part than the original, where the original the host was like the second lead of the
like a
movie
slime
and like
ball.
the guy who really made
Yeah.
everything happen in the movie. Basically, yeah,
Hmm.
it was like Arnold versus that guy, sort of. And in this one, he's really a
Yeah.
bit player who just kind of comes in and plays host for a few
Yeah.
minutes and then leaves.
I thought he was good, but it's like you definitely don't need him and Brolin both in the movie.
Yeah, and you could kind of feel, or I felt, it was one of those performances where I was like, they felt like they got an actor too big for the part, and so they tried to make his part
Hmm.
feel like bigger and like meatier than it was,
Yeah.
but it really
Right.
wasn't. He got to have like his few big moments of like telling
Ah,
Brolin even how it is at the end. Like he's too cool, and he just walks away, and it's like, eh, you know,
yeah.
I'm glad you're trying to give him something to do, but again, not earned or anything.
No, and that just kind of sums up the whole movie, unfortunately. Like, and you're right. Like here we are saying, like it's good, and then we're just crapping all over it. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say some positive things because all I've done is complain. Yeah.
look, we
So
should. We probably
so
should say
positive things.
positive.
Again, Glenn is good. I do
He
like
is.
a lot of the moments of him just trying to like lay low and hide. I like the fact that it's
Hmm.
for the most part he does smart things that you understand. Like you're like if you're in the running man, like
Yes.
he goes and first thing he does is supply up, get his like fake ID and passports, gets
Yeah.
some disguises, and gets out of town. And then he keeps moving towns, and he keeps like just staying on the move. And you're like, this is smart
Yep.
stuff. This is the stuff that I like. Is just seeing him be smart and how can I survive more
Hmm.
days doing this.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I guess it probably goes without saying. That's clearly by far the best part of the movie.
Yeah, and uh,
Yeah.
and I do again. I like the little flourish that no matter what, he's kind of a nice guy. So like when he's trying to escape that one basement and it's about to
Hmm.
blow and the hunters are trying to kill him, they're even shooting at him, and he can't help but just yell a warning like, "Get out of here! This place is gonna blow!" Like because he's just too much of a good guy.
Yep.
He can't just let them blow up. I like those little flourishes.
I did too. And I look, I always appreciate the little spin on things. We've talked about it a million times, like taking this, action hero or kind of what they're making him. And like you said, the kind of the gimmick of this movie is that he's just truly a nice guy, and so I do appreciate that stuff. And yeah, it's really well done. And Glenn's the guy to be carrying those scenes for sure.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wanted to say more good things, but I guess that's kind of like I mean it's not that that sounds like that's it, but it's like that is a lot of the movie and there's not much more to say. It's
That's a
just
lot of
like
the
kind of
movie.
enjoying just being on the trip with them.
On the
Which makes me
journey
think
with
maybe
him.
what would have made this movie better is make it a little grittier and try not to fill it with so many eccentric characters. Because I feel like every time that's what they tried to do is make it more like, oh, these fun eccentric characters. They just didn't hit.
I would have been so much happier just following Glen Powell on this journey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, I do think there's also something to be said for. I mean, obviously he interacts with all these different people who help him along the way. But in the original, having people who are in the contest together, all running for their lives, like I thought they were actually going to do that a
Yeah.
little bit with the three people in the show together, but they immediately go
Hmm.
their separate ways, and then all you ever see is like the show updating you on what happened to the other ones. And like
Yeah.
again, maybe it would have been a little better if they would have it would have been like three people have to run together, and you lose one here and one there, and it's just him by the end, but just give him something else, a different companion than somebody just going, "Hey, come over here. I've got all this information that's gonna, you know,
Yeah.
be a plot
Yep.
convenience."
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And yeah, I don't know. It's just maybe this movie was just kind of doomed from the get-go after that, after the screenplay and after those decisions they made. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh, but again, just want to be really clear. This is not Madam Web bad or anything. This is not
No,
Craven
no.
the Hunter. This is this is a watchable movie. Like I talked to somebody about it today, and I was like, they're like, "How was it?" And I was like, "It's good." They're like, "So is it worth it?" I'm like, "I mean, it's worth a watch. It's fun. It's not anything I'm never gonna be like, you got to go see it, but it's worth your time if you go watch it."
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to give the wrong impression either. Not even close to being considered for my worst movies of the year. Nothing like that at all. But I guess just to reiterate what I was saying at the beginning, like, I just wanted to be able to sit here and be like, dude, Glen Powell is on fire. Like this movie's incredible. I had a blast, and I just can't say any of those things.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately it has to follow a week where a movie like Predator Badlands could have had all the same pitfalls, but rises above
And
them,
didn't.
and then you know Running Man does you sit there and go like, how did Running Man not hit some of the same like or couldn't hit the same level of like energy and life as a movie starring a
Mhm.
predator and an android? It's
You're right. And that may be part of my problem too. Is this is the first movie I've seen since Predator Badlands, and you just kind of go like, you know what, Predator Badlands just kind of, even though they're two obviously very different movies, you can still go like Predator Badlands just did everything better.
yeah, yeah. I do think the one one last complaint, as a this complaint fest just is totally torpedoing our attempts to emphasize that this movie is not bad,
Right.
uh, is when you make the world so much bigger as opposed to like the original, which all took place into like a studio. Feel like it was like we're
Yep.
all going to be in a TV studio, and it's like it's like American Gladiators on friggin' steroids, but yeah.
Steroids, right?
But in this one, because it's like you can travel the whole world, like they're going to explore the world a lot more, but they don't really explain out the world a lot more. You don't really
No.
understand much about what's going on other than this network is basically like runs everything, I guess. And it's a
Yeah.
pretty oppressive society for the poor, I guess. Again, when you keep it small, it's easy. You can kind of just like assume, okay, I guess I know enough about the world and then we're just going to be here. But when you go exploring the world, and you don't really tell me a lot more about the world,
You,
it leaves you with just a
yeah,
lot
you're
of
not
you're kind of like,
accomplishing
what's
much.
going on here?
Yep. Absolutely. Very well put. Yeah, and that was another thing. Rewatching the original, it's like it's so much better. Just and we talked about this a lot. Like a lot of this '80s stuff or older stuff, they succeeded because they just kept things contained and they kept things simple.
Yeah, it was so easy to follow the original one. It's like, hey,
It's
you're
so
in this
easy.
guy's arena and you're gonna have to fight him now. Oh my gosh, they took out this guy. Well, let's send in some more gladiators and they'll fight in this arena and
Yep.
blah blah blah. And this one, it's like he's traversing the world. He's doing the best job someone can do, moving city to city. And then every time he pauses for a second, the hunters are right there. They were also going
Yeah.
elsewhere to kill the other guys too, and then right back on him. And it's like, you know, I get they're tracking him and all
Yep.
this, but like, man, it is it's you're having a hard time having me believe that they can just keep up with him like this.
Yep. I would have rather seen a more simple contained story.
Yeah. Uh, so Andy, I'm gonna let's talk a little bit about this. So Rotten Tomatoes score
Hmm.
65% from the critics.
Yeah.
Not a great score.
Not a very good score.
No, and 79% from the audience.
That sounds more like it.
Yeah, I'd say that's
Like 75 or something, it would be what I would say.
yeah. I surprisingly have heard no talk about this movie.
Yeah.
It had a budget of 110 million. Can you tell me anything about the box office, Andy?
It did not do well, Jeremy.
Mm.
It opened to 17 million in the United States. I think it opened like 10 or 11 million additional, worldwide. So it's like around the $30 million mark. And I think next weekend is like Wicked 2, and then we got like Zootopia 2. I think it's just gonna.
Yeah,
I think this movie's gonna fade away very quickly.
yeah. It's not set up for a long run. That's for sure.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's, it's really disappointing because we both like the thing where we can kind of track, like the next big star in the making. And it's not like, oh man, Glen Powell's done for. Not at all. Not at all. But this is, not the result any of us wanted. It's fun when there's a new emerging box office draw. It's exciting for me. I love the box office. I love to follow the box office. And I've said it a zillion times on here. I want theaters to succeed, and every time someone we think can open a movie doesn't, that's bad for the bottom line for theaters. So, a real bummer to me.
Absolutely. We still believe in Glenn, and you know what? We
Absolutely.
we did. I did talk about this a little bit. I expected there was eventually going to be sort of the Glenn Powell backlash, the oversaturation.
Hmm.
We've been exposed to Glenn too much. Like he's kind of been in a lot lately. he was in that TV show, the like Chad Powers, like
Chad Powers.
yet another. Hey, we made a short video about something one time, and let's blow it out into a whole TV show. And I haven't even tried to watch that yet.
Yeah,
And so
me
it just
neither.
kind of feels like, man, maybe this is the project that needed to, maybe he needed a project this to fail in order to spur on that Matthew McConaughey like
Mm.
assessment of like, hey, maybe I need to stop choosing like the big obvious things, because we know like right now he's trying to follow the Tom Cruise model, right? He's trying to be like
Yeah,
big. He wants to be the big movie star like Tom Cruise. So he's picking these properties that seem like good big blockbuster type movies, and
yeah,
again, I have no problem with that. I love a good movie star, and I love that Tom Cruise exists in our lives. But
exactly.
uh, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Glenn push himself. Let's see Glenn play somebody a little sleazier. Let's see Glenn have his Collateral, where he plays the bad guy,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's always fascinating when someone kind of hits one of those bumps in the road to see, how what the follow up is, and how he does reevaluate and reassess and everything. I mean, I'm sure he's already got movies in the can that he's filmed, but like
Yeah,
it'll kind of be interesting to see.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I because I he's one of those guys that, I mean, you never really know, uh, just from seeing interviews, but he seems like a pretty self-aware and smart about
I
his
think so
career
too.
guy. That
He definitely gives that
Yeah,
vibe.
that like I think he's the type that would sit back and assess and say like, all right,
Hmm.
what is this saying about what I need to do next?
Yeah. I think this just further supports my theory that, I started when it came to Arnold is there was something so magical about these guys in the 80s because we didn't see them constantly all the time, everywhere. We didn't know their every step and their every move. And that just made it more appealing to rush out to the theater to see them.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, I want to put you on the spot for one question.
Bring it
All
on.
right, is there an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that does deserve the remake treatment? And of course, the tricky thing with this is, you're not going to choose Terminator or Predator because those have got plenty
Mhm.
of entries in the franchises. But I don't know. I'm curious if there's a Arnold movie out there that you think would be just prime for a good remake.
Jeremy, I really don't think there is because I think Arnold was such a one of one.
Mm.
And we've seen it. They tried to do, they did Conan with I was that Jason Momoa? It may have been. That was stupid. There's been all these different Predator things, and we're high on the Predator right now.
Yeah.
But that's because they're changing it and they're not just trying to find the next big muscle guy to throw out in the jungle. Terminator franchise went on way too long, and Arnold's partially to blame for that. So, let's say Commando. You try and do Commando now. Who's going to do that part? There's just nobody to do it. The Rock has done his versions of this stuff, and we've seen that. And Arnold just existed in the perfect time, and he was the perfect person to make these terrible movies so dang entertaining. And I don't think anybody could pull it off right now. I really don't.
Yeah. Uh, I wanted to joke and say Kindergarten Cop, but the reality is nobody's going to have the combination of physique and funny voice to pull off that role.
No.
So,
And that's another example. Like give that movie to anybody else. That movie should be awful. And Arnold's charm and charisma absolutely carry that movie and make it at least decent, if not like just downright entertaining and enjoyable.
yeah, I'll
So
say that Kindergarten Cop is an enjoyable movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think Arnold was just a one of one, and I always knew he was cool, and I was all about Arnold. I've gone on about him on here before, but now that movies, and action movies are kind of the way they are, you do look back and you just realize, like, I think Arnold was even more special than we thought.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right about that.
I I would not try and touch any of Arnold's stuff. I would just leave it alone.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep.
Um, all right. Well, that'll conclude our discussion of The Running Man. And
Yep.
despite what we said, people give it a chance.
It's
Let us know.
I know we probably did a terrible job, but it's fun. It's not like you said. It's not even anywhere in the same stratosphere as like a Madam Web or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just didn't quite hit the levels I wanted
And
it to.
honestly, I suspect that the average moviegoer will probably enjoy this movie more than we do. I think what
I
we
would say
said, a
so.
lot of like familiar stuff, the beats we expect. When you watch a lot of movies like us, you like that becomes
Hmm.
more problematic than my friends who watch, maybe 5 new movies a year.
Right.
And I think that this is a movie that they could enjoy. It's got sort of broad appeal, is the positive
I
you
would
can say
agree.
about it. It's not going to turn a lot
Yep.
of people off for any particular reason. And so you can just have fun with it.
Yep. Don't let our negativity deter you from going to see this movie.
That's right. So we are going to be back soon to talk
Hmm.
about a Netflix movie that actually came out before The Running Man, but sometimes it takes us weirdly when it comes straight to Netflix or something like
It
that.
takes me longer.
Exactly. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're going to be talking about Frankenstein. So uh,
Yes, we are.
on our next episode. So please come back and join us for that discussion, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.